And we are live. Welcome to our YouTube Live here on the Performante channel. So what happened was all of my screens for the Brave browser that I use got deleted last night. So I have blank screens, blank charts. I did draw on BNB. I did draw on a couple of them because some of them did look good. I have them on my other monitor here. But basically, I have blank charts for every single one. So within this video, we're going to go over every single one of these charts, drawing our key levels yet again. And then we'll start off with BTC, looking at the monthly and then working our way down, because it's always good to understand what's happening on the larger time frames. And I do have to draw my TA on here anyways. So I'm just going to be basically going through my entire list of alts and BTC while discussing them. I also will be looking at the pairs that I currently see on the other monitor there. I might be entering them depending on how they look, so we'll see how that goes. But first, we got to get some pullbacks here, so we got a little bit of time before that occurs. So we got a nice trend line that's connecting the higher lows. Very, very solid, well respected. And I think that's going to be it right there. Perfect. All right, so that's the main trend line that I wanted to draw. And then we're going to be putting in our horizontal zones of resistance, which are going to be right around here. Candle closures indicate where that key zone is for me. And then I don't even think I need it to be this big. I'm just going to make it as big as the candle closures on the bottom and top, basically around right here. So we're at the starting point of the resistance there, and then we also have our key descending zones. I'm not really going to put them in because on the weekly, which is going to be this one on there, I'm just going to keep it very simple and easy to understand. So the next one is going to be this zone right here. I'm just going to put the it's going to put the top zone. I have no idea how that even got there. So it's going to be top zone from this point onwards. That's going to be around 14K. That's going to be the final area that we really need to pass in order to see the bulls really take charge. So we got our two zones. I'll just put a lower zone here to indicate the area of demand. It's going to be right around here. All right, so we got our three zones. We're looking pretty good. And that's basically all I'm going to be doing for the monthly chart. Also, for whoever is watching, you can write a comment within the chat, and then I'll be able to explain things a little bit more clear, or answer any questions that you may have, or just help you out in some way. And I just want to say thanks for tuning in. So we got our horizontal zone here, or our descending zone that we are holding well below. And then we got our anchor point at the very top there. So we got two zones that we are projecting down into the price action. We got the zone that we broke that's now holding as a nice new level of support. And then we also have our top outside structure of the price action, which is going to be the final resistance area that we need to pass in order for us to really see some bullish conviction and confidence buy up the price and really push it beyond the 20K mark that I believe it will inevitably go to. So we got our nice zones right here. And then we'll talk about our horizontal zones that we're going to be putting on the chart as well, which are going to be right here. So we have a zone of confluence that the bulls are currently sitting right on top of, which is great to see. And then we also have another zone of confluence where we have the price hitting the next key zone of descending resistance, which is going to be right around here. So we got a nice area. We got a nice couple areas where we know that there's going to be buyers and sellers, so we have a pretty good understanding of what's occurring in the market at this moment in time. I think, well, I'll just leave this here. I have a pretty strong conviction that the price is going to stick above at least like the 91 zone and then hold above this zone of confluence and slowly start to trend up. What I will do is zoom out on the weekly chart on the Coinbase exchange, and then I will add in my curved trend lines that we have here, or curved support, I should say. And I believe it was on this one. Yep. So we got our first anchor point right there. And then let's curve that so we are able to get as many touch points as we can within the chart. So I would say that would be pretty good. It's not ideal, although this anchor point is not very perfect. So let's shift that to make it a little bit more accurate. And then we'll be able to identify the zones in 2015 and 2016 a little bit more clear, hopefully. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to either go there and have a few bodies or the wicks. I think I'm going to go to see how that looks right there. And I might go to the wicks if that looks too off. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. And I might go a little bit more to the wicks, which will give me a little bit more play in this section here. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Looks pretty good so far. And then we got our nice supply zone here. And then we got our key couple resistances that we're currently going to be hitting. We just are currently holding this. We still got around 2 days and 7 hours left before this weekly candle closes, but overall, or definitely still got longer than that. It is, well, I guess it's only Friday, so that doesn't make sense. So almost closed out. We do see significant amount of buy volume coming into the market compared to the sell volume. That's great to see overall. And this key level right here, let's just get our snip and talk about the market structure and what we're looking to have for a potential area of support. Let's just get this to a white and then one medium. So basically this area right here is going to be the key area demand that we see the price holding because of the descending zone. That's going to be our first reason that we think that this zone is going to be a new level of support, because we broke it and now we're retesting for a new level of support. And then now we are also seeing this zone, this horizontal zone of both support and resistance is now holding as a nice new level of support as well. So we got two zones of confluence that we can use to depend off of that this area has buyers within the market. So right now we're looking for longs from this point here to our next key zone of supply, which is going to be from 11.5 to 12K. So that's the overall outlook that I'm still looking to have in the market. We've been talking about this exact structure and how we're looking for that move to the upside for a while, and I'm still going to have my bias in that way. So now we're going to move to the CME futures. I'm just going to get a drink of coffee here. And then also we're just going to draw our zones of demand and supply. So that's going to be our key demand zone that we're currently right above. I don't really have an anchor point for the end of 2017, so I don't really have any points that I can use for confluence at this zone. But what we're mainly looking at this exchange for is to see the gaps in the CME futures exchange. And then I also see a nice ascending trend line that connects these lows right here. So that's a pretty well-respected ascending trend line. I'm going to keep that there. If it breaks, it could be a shift in trend, but I'm mainly going to be looking at the $9,700 zone for a key area of support. If that price gets broken, then I could potentially be looking for a shift in trend. But at this point in time, I am very happy with how the market is moving, and I'm not really going to change my bias at this point in time. I'm going to continue going long until we hit our major supply zone, which is from 11.5 to 12K. So I have a plan, I'm sticking to it, and I'm not really going to change my bias until the market tells me otherwise. So I'm just going to put in small, minor levels of resistance. So these aren't major zones, they're just minor zones, but I want to put them into the market because I do know that these are zones that we have to be looking out for. I think the first one is going to be right here, and then the next one will be up top there. And then we got our major supply zone starting from 11.5. So let's put that zone in right here. So it's from around 11.5 to around 12K. So somewhere around there. So this is going to be our major supply zone that we need to pass in order to really see the buy volume coming into the market. Just checking this chart on the weekly, seeing how it looks. Definitely taking a little bit longer than expected. We might come back to this chart. Yeah, let's go back to this chart. So now talking about it on the daily on the Gemini. I'm just going to stick to the daily on that one. Okay, so talking about the Gemini exchange, we'll do the exact same thing. We'll identify our major key zones within the chart. We'll just make this white and a little bit bigger so we're able to identify it as a major zone. So we got our major demand zone. We can also add the, I'll just go to the log chart. We also have our high from 2017/2018, so we'll be able to identify our key descending trend lines like so that we initially mapped out on Coinbase Exchange on the weekly chart. So it looks very similar with where they are, which is great because then we can identify that as a key zone within the chart. And we'll get our nice projection here and then push that down, close the gap. So now we have a nice key zone of confluence that is going to signify that there is buyers within this market. So around the $9,500 zone is going to be our key support, and we're going to hopefully see the price stick around that zone. If it does fall, so then we can get another long opportunity and make some profits towards the upside here. So I'm completing the final structure, and there we go right here. So we got our two zones, we got our horizontal zones, and then we got our descending zones, and they are creating our zones of confluence. Right now we are at the lower half of the confluence. So now let's go back to the daily because we understand where our zones are located. So let's talk about market structure a little bit within the snip. Also for the people who are within the live, this is absolutely live, so if you have a question, just drop it in the chat and then I'll be able to answer any questions that you may have. So talking about market structure, these are the two zones that we have descending, pushing the price down, and once they break, we're looking to have them used as new levels of support. So right now we are now above our first descending projection. So it was a previous level of resistance. We can see that right here, and now it's going to be a new level of support. We are still a little bit above that. We did get one pullback to really validate this zone as a new level of support, and then we got a lot of buy volume with a strong injection of buy pressure pushing the price up above the previous high, and then now we're consolidating basically above that high using the previous high as a new level of support, like we can see like so. Previous level of resistance, new level of support on the previous consolidation. So it's looking pretty good for the bulls, breaking resistances, holding supports. Seeing a little bit more R-vol, not a whole lot more, but since the break we have been seeing a little bit more relative volume, which is good to see. But overall, I do still think that it would be best if we were able to potentially see a nice pullback to around this previous level of support, validating it for a second time, and then we get our second injection and wave of buy volume, and that's where we're looking to really enter. That would be ideal. In that said, we are taking long opportunities on alts actively, but I think it personally would be the best opportunity if we were able to pull back to around the $9,700 zone. Then we can get that really good entry with a really good risk reward, because then we could put our stop loss below this low, would be entering somewhere around here, and then our first take profit would be here, and then our second take profit would be around the supply zone, giving us a great risk reward. So we'll see how the market structure is looking within the smaller time frames. We do see a nice level of resistance turning into new support, and we'll see how the possibilities would be to see this price come all the way down to here. Obviously, we're not looking to short in any way whatsoever. We're seeing very strong, clear higher highs and higher lows. This is a high, this is a low, this is a higher high, this is a higher low, this is a higher high, this is a higher low. And we're just making strong moves towards the upside. The only way we're looking to short, and the only reason we would be looking to short is if we started making lower highs and lower lows. So even if the price came back down to here, it's still holding this low. So to me, it's not making a lower low. Then it potentially make a lower high, because this is a high and this is a lower high. Then if we see the price make a lower low from the previous low, breaking this current low right here, then we could potentially look to short, especially if it breaks this low here. Then for me, if the price does come to this zone, I'd probably enter, and the stop loss would get taken out because I'd have the stop loss below this low. And if we start making a lower high, lower low, and then start making a lower low, we'd be potentially wanting to enter on the lower high once it's respected this descending zone and horizontal zone as a new level of resistance. So at that point in time, then we can look to enter, because the market structure does indicate that there is now more sell pressure within the market. But when the price on the daily chart is making clear signs of higher highs and higher lows, you don't want to be shorting that, or at least in my opinion, I don't want to be shorting that. I want to be seeing at least some consolidation and a structural lower high and a lower low before we look to enter short in the market. So definitely not looking to short. Ideally, in a perfect situation, we're looking to see the price come back to around the $9,700 zone for us to enter on that nice new level of support, validating it and getting 2 injections of buy volume, entering on the second injection. That would be ideal, but if not, we'll also be looking at the alts within the market, looking for opportunities for the long side. So that is the daily outlook for BTC. I think it looks really, really bullish. I'm very happy with the outcome of 2019 thus far, and what I'm actually going to do on the daily chart is just put this green area right here as a nice demand zone that we can identify as a key structural area where buyers are going to be located. So I'll just put that right there. So now we know that there's going to be buyers within that area. If the price does come down to that zone, we are going to be looking to see if buyers are going to be within that range. Yeah, this exchange is not looking like it's wanting to work here. I got that. It's a little weird. Anyways, okay, so let's go on from the daily chart. We really want a good understanding of how this is looking, because this will kind of create the market structure for the 4-hour and the 1-hour. But definitely take a good look at this, understand where the waves are and where the moves are, and then now we will go to the 4-hour to really discuss more of the smaller market structure. So we can remove all the drawings there. We don't really need any of that. And this is on Bitfinex. I like Bitfinex on this 4-hour. I do Bitfinex on 4-hour and then Binance on the hour, because I'll be executing off the Binance exchange. So what I will do is I will actually draw in that ascending trend line that I see here, just to see where it lies on the chart. Not perfect, but could create a nice level of confluence that the bulls could use for a strong level of support. So I wanted to ensure that I locate that area if it is possible, but at this point in time, I don't really see a great opportunity because there is a very significant gap here. I don't really think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to put horizontal zones of major key support and resistance. So on this chart, I also will go all the way back to the daily and weekly and locate my descending zones, because that is very important. Those are going to play key areas within the chart. So I want to make sure I can locate those and understand where they are on the smaller time frames, like the 4-hour, and then the 1-hour is just going to be for the smaller term price action pattern that we're able to identify. So let's get these zones in on the 4-hour chart. They look very, very similar on each exchange. That makes sense. So get these 2 zones here and then get our projection. And then get our other projection. And that is our 2 zones. Perfect. So now that we got our 2 zones, we can now get our horizontal zones of supply and demand and then put those in as well. So this is going to be my first area of support, and I'll just make both of them white because then it'll be easier. And then I'll do my key area of supply in white as well. So we got our 2 key zones there. So we're basically just now going to go on the 4-hour, and then we got our nice zones located. So now we can easily talk about market structure, because we have our 2 structural zones located within the chart. So let's get our snip and discuss. Also, for anyone within the chats, feel free to ask a question. I'll be happy to answer anything that is relevant within the video. So we're making, like we said, clear structural higher highs and higher lows. This was a key area of resistance on the chart where we see a lot of sell pressure. The price was able to break above that zone, hold for a new level of support, and then blast off to make a new high. Great to see. And along with that, we see major volume accumulation. We see significantly higher buy volume coming into the market compared to the small amount of sell volume we see. This indicates that there are buyers, strong bulls, purchasing the coin, holding on to the pair, not trying to distribute it into the market, which is very bullish. So we see bullish price action. We see bullish volume. Overall, it looks great. Seeing the quality marriage between the price action and volume create a confluence in the same direction, same bullish sentiment is great to see. I'm just going to get a bit of water here. or copy I should say, and then we broke above this key zone. So that was a significant push because this area right here is a major structural resistance that the price was most likely going to have a lot of resistance or a lot of challenge breaking above. But we did break it, which is great to see. We got a little bit of a pullback because we did break on the 4-hour chart. We can see that right here. And then we pulled back to validate the previous resistance as a new level of support. So we did get a nice validation, which is good, but I think we could see the price come back to this low again here, holding the $9,800 zone. That would be, I think, in my opinion, a really good opportunity for a long. And then even if we get down into a little bit deeper into the 95s down here, as long as we're sticking above this key level of resistance at around 9,400 right here, as long as it sticks around the 9,400 resistance as a new level of support, as long as it sticks above that zone, then I would be looking to long. I'd be looking for entries along that level of support, looking for price action confirmation, looking for valid injections of buy volume, and we'll be basically looking for longs at this point in time. Now, if we do break this zone and respect it for a new level of support, and we see sell pressure at this zone of resistance, then yeah, our bias will have to change, and we'll have to change our outlook on the market. But at this point in time, with the price and the volume and the market structure and everything pointing bullish, I'm not going to be looking to short or anything. I'm just looking to potentially get a long opportunity if the price comes down to here. If the price holds this previous resistance as a new level of support, I'll probably not enter on BTC and I'll look for long opportunities on some alts that we're looking at right now. But at this point in time, the risk from, let's say, if we entered right here to where I want to have the risk would be below here. That to me is too much risk, so I'm not really wanting to do it. I'd rather see the risk from this point here up to where I want to have the stop loss, which is below this low. So that's a significant, that's like a 50% reduction in risk, so I can risk twice as much. So it makes sense that I want to put my entries here if I have the option to, and if I don't, I can find some better risk reward situations on the different alts that we're looking at, because this is a potential take profit here, right? So from here to here or here to here, that's about a third more that you're taking in terms of take profit. So it makes sense to try to capture the best opportunities, and if they're not going to present themselves, you're going to, or at least I'm going to try to look for better opportunities within the market where I can get that risk reward that I'm looking at. So we'll talk about the 1-hour chart here. I did draw a little minor level of descending trend line, but that doesn't really matter. It's not a very valid level on the chart. So the main place I want to be looking at is going to be this zone here. This is going to be the major structural low that we really don't want to pass, around the $9,500 zone, and then we see some minor levels of support and resistance within the chart as well. So it's a pretty valid zone, but like I said before, that's ideally the situation that we're going to have, is we're going to have the price come back down to around the $9,800, $97,000, maybe even $9,600 zone, and then we'll be able to potentially have like a descending zone connect the lower highs, something like we saw here. So this is a very similar structure where we saw a high and then we wanted to see a nice consolidation. That's a very, very nice consolidation where a projection zone connected the lower highs. Once we saw a break of the projection zone, we saw the flood into the market and start to see the market high break, and then we saw higher highs, now higher lows again. So looking at market structure, we see that these zones of consolidation create opportunities for us because we can create a nice descending zone connecting the lower highs, giving us a potential edge in the market where we know that we can enter at valid zones and have skewed risk rewards, so we have a large amount of reward versus a small amount of risk, and that's what we're looking for in an opportunity. So we don't obviously have an opportunity right now. It's way too early. It looks like, just if we're talking about this, you know, if you're looking at the market right here, you're not really seeing any opportunity. You're holding this support. You don't really see much of an opportunity, but once you're able to identify more of the market structure, once you're able to identify more of the price action pattern that you will be trading, then obviously you will be able to actually act upon the entry signal. But for now, we don't really have an entry signal. We don't really have a price action pattern that we can play with on the 1 hour. So we're not going to force any entries. We're not going to force any trades if we don't see it. We'll look for other opportunities within the market that the alts are showing us. But for now, BTC is still above our resistance, which is now our current level of support at around 1.1 or $10,100. But I'm actively looking for alts to long, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to hold above here and continue to move towards the upside, because like I said before, the overall structure of the price action does potentially give us an opportunity to come back down here to give us another injection of buy volume before making our initial break and attempt to the 11.5-ish K range. So we'll see how the next couple days goes. We'll see how the weekend goes. But in my view, that's how the outlook is for BTC. And then quickly looking at the BTC longs and shorts within the market. So we have the candlesticks as the longs, and then we have the line chart as shorts. So this is going to represent the short sellers in the market, and then this is going to represent the bulls in the market. So we see that the bulls prior, basically at the December of 2019, really shot the price up significantly. That was the basically right shoulder of the reverse head and shoulders, and then we had a massive breakout in buy volume, and then we consolidated, and that was basically the peak here of the $9,100 resistance, and then we fell down, consolidated for a bit, and then we gained a lot more buy volume coming back up. Previous level of resistance equals new level of support. So it looks pretty good for the bulls right now, although we are basically right at a previous all-time high in buy levels, which is going to be right here on the Bitfinex one-day chart. So we are nearing a level of resistance, which is going to be right here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be stopping. So just something to consider when you're looking at this chart. And then also on the short seller side, we have been seeing lower or higher lows and higher highs. This is a high, this is a higher low, this is a higher high. We've just been seeing higher lows and higher highs, with the sellers taking more and more positions on the short side, gaining more sell side exposure. We are nearing a level of resistance. We see that right here, right here, right here, right here. All along here, it's a key level of resistance. So we are near, we are a little bit above the zone, but it could be a nice little fake out. But overall, within the sellers, we do see that the sellers are gaining more and more confidence. We see that right here. If we see a spike in volume, we could see something like this. Or if we see a spike in price, with the price increasing, we could see something like this, where basically all the short sellers got taken out here, and there was a massive shift in trend back in the mid-December of 2019, because basically all the short sellers got taken out, and there was a huge shift from some level of sell pressure keeping the price down to almost no level of sell pressure keeping the price down. So there was almost no confidence in the sellers that the price was going to go down. So that led to significant price appreciation, and that's what you're looking for. So if you start seeing the sell pressure significantly drop, that means that there is sell pressure that is getting lifted, which then would just increase the amount of buy pressure that is able to push the price up significantly. So if you see a drop here, that would mean that we're really looking to long. And if you see the bulls, or if you see the sellers, we see the bears continue to hold this, then they still have conviction and confidence that the price may not be going up. So overall, it looks all right. Sellers definitely still have a little bit more confidence than we'd like for us to long, but the bulls are still in control. Just taking a quick look at the different alts we have within the market on my other monitor here. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them. I know we only have 2 people watching right now, but that is the overall market structure of BTC. That's what I'm looking for. And we'll go quickly look at the corn farm exchanges, because we like to understand what's happening on not just one exchange, but on multiple exchanges. So let's take a quick look at it. On the 24-hour exchange, or 24-hour time on the 3 exchanges that we're looking at, BitMEX, Binance, and Bybit, we see that it's pretty darn break even. 49% to basically 51% for BitMEX, a little bit more on the short side. On Binance, it's basically break even, a little bit more on the long side, and on Bybit, it's a little bit on the long side, but basically break even for all 3 on the 24-hour exchange. Pretty much well in equilibrium. And then the 1 hour on the 3 different exchanges, we see that BitMEX has a little bit more on the long side with 51%, whereas there's only 49% that are short on BitMEX on the short side. On Binance, a little bit more of a discrepancy, 53% of longs and then 46.7% are shorts. So there's definitely a little bit more longs on Binance. And on Bybit as well, 54% are long, 45.8% are short. So on the 24-hour time frame, we don't really see a whole lot of discrepancy between longs and shorts, but on the hour, we do see a bit more discrepancy, more weighted towards the longs, with Binance and Bybit both seeing more buy volume, more buy injections coming into the market compared to the sellers. So it looks a little bit more bullish just looking at that chart. but we do see that there is a little bit of a resistance there on the larger exchange or the larger time frame, looking at the buyers and sellers within the market, and you can see it's by far the highest point on the chart there. So I'll leave this here, and now we will go into the different alts that we're going to be looking at within the market. That was the BTC. I think I might actually split this up because this is currently the public, so I think this will just be for the BTC, and then I have a ton of different alts that we'll be covering basically right after this video. We have Aunt, Matic, VET, Ravencoin, RVN, NEO, Atom, ZEC, XLM, LTC, ETC, ADA, Ethereum, Tron, Link, Dash, EOS, BNB, and XRP. We'll be covering all those within the next video, but I think I'm going to cut this one off right now and then leave this one just as the BTC market update that we usually do for every single day for our free members. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the YouTube comments below or the Discord, and we'll be happy to answer them. If you don't know what we do, we are cryptocurrency traders, and we provide a Discord that hosts a community that allows individuals to be a part of a I guess a movement of cryptocurrency trading and the ability to make money through the volatility of cryptocurrencies. And we also discuss things like stocks and Forex and other entrepreneurial endeavors as well, but we mainly focus on cryptocurrency trading. So if you're not in the Discord yet, definitely check it out. The link is in the description or the comment section below. And if you have any questions, obviously let really any one of our social media channels know, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you name it, and we'll be happy to answer you. So until next time, happy trading.